This is Car Con Carne, presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. The Autobarn Mazda of Evanston now has the brand new 2019 Mazda 3 sedan and hatchback in stock. Check them out, 1015 Chicago Avenue. Autobarn Mazda of Evanston, Dealer of the Year, as named by Dealer Rater for 2019. In the car right now, the band Vortis.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
The obvious thing to point to, you're Jim DeRogatis. I mean, Vortis is a band, but I think you're also kind of known on your own as author.
Well, it's Sunday, so maybe not. Maybe not on Sunday, yeah.
Author, co-host of Sound Opinions, music journalist, the guy who broke the R. Kelly story.
That and more, yes.
Okay, so we're going to cover all that. But I want to talk about your band and eat some Mexican food first.
Well, that sounds great.
Okay.
Because that's what you and Car Con
Easy for you to say.
Not easy to say. That's what you're famous for.
Right.
I mean, we're in the distinguished presence of bands that have come before us. Local H, right? Lucas did
Local
the show.
H, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Raygun.
Reagan was in this car?
They were in my personal car. Pizzotti was in my personal car. This was before
How
I
did
had
he
the
fit?
fabulous...
Did you have a moonroof? And did he have to have like be
He does have some altitude.
That's a very tall boy.
He's a very tall boy. Billy Corgan was charming-ish.
Yeah.
When he did this.
Yeah.
So
James, this is no insult to your podcast, but my, how the Corgan has fallen. You know what I mean? It's like he's doing Car Con Carne.
Well, he did
and,
it
and
under
he's
duress.
doing the Illinois State Fair. You know what I mean? It's like corn dogs and remember Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, State Fair, like you expect to see like Theory of a Dead Man doing a state fair.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sticks! For the last 50 years, yes.
Todd Zuckerman of Styx, fellow drummer, also a previous guest on Car Con Carne.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
There you go. I'm going to insult every guest you had.
Apparently you
except for Naked Raygun.
By the
Always
time
good at making friends.
By the time you and I go to Lollapalooza together, it's just going to be a disaster.
Well, I was banned from Lollapalooza a good decade ago, so don't worry about that.
All right, so let's distribute, because we were at the Burrito House, a Jim DeRogatis recommendation. The bag is already in a precarious state. Like, we're courting trouble here. I got a couple tacos. I'm going to leave this to you to
We're going to
distribute.
figure this out. You know what? Louie is the expert distributor of the food.
Yeah, Louie and Tony are in the back seat, I should mention. I don't mean to just zero in on Jim, but I have a lot of history with you. I've known you for literal decades.
You were young James when we started, and you were the first Sound Opinions... Jelly Corbett actually was stuck with us early when we were at the Loop, Wyman and I. But then we went to Q101, and, Bill Gamble, a man of considerable corporate kind of background. The idea was stick young James with these two rock critics, and they can't fuck up too badly. Am I allowed to curse on your podcast?
It's a podcast.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. Mark Maron. You know what I mean? You were supposed to ride herd over us. But we also liked you, and the riding herd aspect never happened.
I kind of broke with you guys, and away from Bill's wishes.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I was on Team Jim and Bill all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. We corrupted you in no time flat.
No time.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so you got a quesadilla?
I got a steak quesadilla.
Steak quesadilla.
We thought burritos would be too sloppy, but already I'm getting steak on the floor.
The floor is okay. I worry about the oil on the seats and the.
Well, no, that's more on the shirt.
Good.
I always wear black.
Don't worry about that. Oh, there you go.
Besides black being very slimming, it's also a safe bet for spilling.
Mm-hmm.
What? Everything okay?
It's my chorizo that's caused all the havoc.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Your chorizo.
Chorizo.
Somewhere in that bag are 2 tacos al pastor. I'm in no hurry. I want you guys to do your thing.
Just take a bite of everything, and when you figure it out,
you take your time.
We're going slow. It's all aluminum wrapped, tortilla wrapped things.
So as you're unwrapping, the big reveal is forthcoming, let's talk a little Vortis history. Tony and Jim, you guys started this band, or were in this band back really at the turn of the century.
2000.
Yeah.
So what was the vision? I mean, because you're a political minded, you're a noisy punk rock band, a very Chicago sounding punk rock band. What was the goal when you?
Let me start it, Tony, and then you should pick it up. What happened, James, is my biography of Lester Bangs came out.
Let it blurt.
And it seemed to me, I hate the idea of standing at a podium and doing a book reading. And so it seemed to me, in order to celebrate this book about Lester Bangs, that music should be part of it. So I had done this project of all music critics in town, playing songs by or important to Lester. So at that time, J.R. Jones was writing about music at The Reader. He later became their film critic. Kiki Yablon became the music editor of The Reader. Steve Knopper, really good trash organ player. We covered songs that meant a lot to Lester, the Troggs, the Stooges, or that he wrote, because he recorded 2 albums in his lifetime. And we had a ringer come in on vocals to be Lester, and that was one John Langford, who knew Lester in the early days of the Mekons. So, I had adamantly I had refused to play in bands during most of my tenure at the Sun-Times, because it seemed to me that I could be accused of a conflict of interest. Getting a gig, bottom of 5, at the Fireside Bowl. I could be accused of, using my lofty position of influence in the media, right? And then doing that project was so much fun. And also I realized it was absurd. I've been playing in bands since I was 13. Why should I not do that?
Right.
The
Hold that thought. Please tell me, and for the love of God, there are more napkins back there.
Oh, yeah.
More. Yeah.
Louie could go in and get more.
It's been great listening so far and watching Louie try to navigate the grease.
This was a bad idea. We should have gone for hot dogs.
Terrible idea.
Should have. I mean, I've just got orange grease.
I know. Look at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Man.
I feel like I'm holding a ticking time bomb right here.
Oh, man.
All right, so Langford, Lester Bangs.
It was absurd. I've always been playing in bands. The reporter who covers the Cubs for the Tribune or the Sun-Times may play softball on the weekend. That does not mean he or she thinks they're going to join the Cubs, right? So I said, fuck it. I want to keep playing, and then that's where I'll let Tony pick it up.
So, Michael Weinstein was married to my professor at DePaul University, and he was starting a band, and it was going to be like a political rant type thing, like Ice Cube, and started off him doing acapellas at like art galleries. Then his wife, my teacher, said, hey, we should get some drums and bass involved, which they did, and that's how Jim came in. Dina Weinstein approached Jim, knew them from writing and stuff, and they had some rehearsals and realized, okay, we got to pick up the sound, we need a guitar player. So I just by happenstance was on DePaul's campus because I had to get some transcripts, and she saw me and she asked me, would you be interested? And she told me a very interesting theory on people joining bands, that there are 3 criteria. 1, you got to be intelligent. 2, you have to be responsible. And 3, you should play an instrument, in that order. Instruments at the bottom.
That was the least important thing.
And she knew me as a student. She's like, you fit the first 2. I think you can play guitar, so why don't you try it? And so showed up, and then the rest was history.
It was sort of her lab experiment.
Yeah.
So, we were following Michael, his lead, for the first, 6 years, 7 years, right? And I think it resulted in a bit of typecasting, a bit of an outsider art aspect, if you will. If Wesley Willis had had a PhD and been a tenured professor for 30 years and written 23 books of political philosophy, that might have been a comparison to Michael, yes?
Yeah,
Tony?
he was an insane genius. Yeah, he was insane, but a genius.
When Tony says Ice Cube, his role models were Ice Cube, Iggy Pop, and Noam Chomsky, and he wanted to cross those 3.
And he really did.
He did.
He really put those 3 together in one
and
person.
it was great fun for us as punks because it was a memorable gig where he was ranting and raving about Osama bin Laden had a point, and not the violent part, but the anti-global imperialism, and some guy who had been in the service, hauled off and punched him in the face, and we had many gigs like that.
That outside one, we was talking about the Unabomber, the guy on the bicycle.
Yeah,
they got in an argument in the middle of the show.
Michael really admired the Unabomber manifesto. Again, not the violent part, but the anti-corporate global hegemony. which is true. In those insane 100,000 words, the Unabomber made some good points about Microsoft and ExxonMobil taking over the world. And then he also wanted to blow people up, which is not very nice.
No, not good. I do want to mention, as we begin our journey together, our odyssey, let's see. Steve Lupino says Jim DeRogatis was my must-read in the Sun-Times. Reviews of concerts, new music, everything. Dennis Buckley of the much-celebrated Chicago punk band 88 Fingers Louie says Kaleidoscope Eyes. Now, that was a book.
That was a book. That was my first book.
Tracy from Hot Lips Messiah says, hey, guys.
Hey,
We love Tracy.
Who doesn't love Tracy? Who doesn't love Hot Lips Messiah?
Oh, that new record's amazing.
The new record's fantastic. Yeah. All right, so I digress. Band moved forward, instigating people on stage, agitainment.
That was Michael's phrase, agitainment. As was Vortis. Now, Tony and I both have the Vortis tattoo symbol, right? Tell them what Vortis meant, Tony.
Vortis.
Is that Beefheart on your arm?
No. That is Lester Bangs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Beefheart also would have worked.
Yeah.
So, Vortis comes from an English art movement called Vorticism, which was an offshoot of the Italian Futurist movement. And the concept of the Vortices, Ezra Pound, was to combine all the energies of life. Combine media art, music, sculpture, everything. And you put it when they had an electrified cone. It was to the
revolving
point of
energy cone.
Revolving energy to the point of maximum energy.
Yeah.
And basically, every idea was worthwhile. Every concept deserved to be in there. And how it came out is how it came out.
Well, I think the best synopsis of their philosophy was to search for violent structures of adolescent clarity
that was the
throughout
big quote.
life. Which, if you break that down out of the academies, is to live with the lust for life of a teenager, no matter what age you are. Which I think was a perfect definition of rock and roll.
Absolutely.
This is just past World War I. So 50 years before rock and roll is invented. And Michael, as a 65-year-old, 70, almost 70 when he was done with the band, philosophy professor, he was the definition of that. He was perpetually like a 16-year-old in his head with all the good and bad parts of that. But it was inspiring. I don't know. I think Tony and I learned a lot about living from...
learned a lot about everything.
Everything.
He
about
was,
everything.
He was a brilliant guy.
And our original bass player, Chris, was leaving the band to go to graduate school to get his PhD in Victorian poetry, is it? Blake. Yeah, specialty in William Blake. And so Louie got tapped for a few gigs, and then we never let him go. But we have now been a trio for 2/3 as long as we ever were part of the Professor. But I think many people saw us once with the Professor and said that's about all they ever needed to see. Except the ones who liked that Vortis and the Vortis of the last 15 years. Those are the ones. Those are the keepers.
Yeah, when we
like
were,
Tracy.
When we would originally play shows, we would play a song. He would give a 5-minute speech. We'd play another song. He'd give a 5-minute speech.
Yeah.
I mean, and now we boil shows down to what, 26 minutes?
Yeah, 26
17
minutes,
songs?
I was gonna say
18
that's like-
songs. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a song on the new album, Words Don't Matter, that's like 2.5 minutes long. It's like I'm listening to Yes all of a sudden.
It is. Well, it's longer because we had it combines all of our favorite quotes by George Orwell. So we, I think that sort of dictated. And it had a chorus, which is rare for Vortis.
Yeah.
So let's do the chorus 3 times. Wow, what a radical concept.
So let me jump to the music. The new album is This Machine Kills Fascists. There's a song on there. Now, I'm too young to have lived through the O'Banion's heyday of Chicago, but We Are Chicago to me sounds like what probably the kind of music that was probably playing at O'Banion's circa 1980. Like
I don't think any of us. Well, Louie grew up in New Hampshire, and I didn't get here till '91. Tony, did you ever go there?
I was too young, actually.
Yeah,
I'd go to Dirty Nelly's out in Palatine. I'd see bands over there.
I guess the reference being, it sounds like textbook old school Chicago.
It is. That was the goal with that one. I actually wrote the lyrics for that one, and I wrote them that night that a bunch of people shut down Trump speaking at UIC, and I was just so inspired. Like, good, finally, someone's doing. Well, it didn't pan out well in the end, but
yeah, but the resistance starts there. It starts in Chicago,
and I'm just saying, we're Chicago. Like, that's cool, but Chicago is also not. it's got its problems. You hear it in the lyrics. But again, when making the music, that was the idea of just creating a Chicago-sounding punk rock song.
We are huge
Homage to all
fans
those.
of Naked Raygun and Effigies and Peg Boy, Big Black, and that period, which I don't think gets its due as part of the roots of alternative rock, which is...
I agree.
Yeah.
Didn't really intend to go political, but devil's advocate question. Talking about when Trump got shouted down, knocked out of UIC, is that the way to go for people on the left? Again, neutral question. Isn't that dangerous to free speech when you don't allow people to have it?
Yeah, it's a good point, and I always think about that. It's like, you say, okay, well, you shouldn't speak, but we should. I mean, that's a bit hypocritical, you can say. However, when you can see the writing on the wall that someone is a very dangerous bully, to use, just what it's panned out, then you got to say something. And it's not about free speech. It's about seeing someone that's actually dangerous. It's like, if you're saying something's not hurting someone, that's fine. When you've got someone that's calling Mexicans rapists, when you have someone that's publicly making dangerous comments, you got to fight back somehow.
If we had the Wayback Machine, James, and we were able to transport ourselves to Berlin, 1935, would it not have been better to shut down Hitler's speeches that lead to Mein Kampf?
It's rhetorical.
I know. But here's the slippery slope we are on in 2019.
Right.
It's. I believe that in 20 years' time, we're going to begin to read the history books, and people are going to say, "How did this ever happen? How did this ever happen? How did America turn on every fundamental value that we've ever had? A nation of immigrants, a nation of law, a nation of freedom of speech. And I mean, you have a man who we're supposed to stand up for his freedom of speech when he keeps calling the press fake news. And
It's interesting. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. The press, journalism. Some of what I know and have learned about journalism, I learned watching you. And it's hard to explain for people who don't know journalists, who haven't done that as an occupation.
Who've been lucky enough not to know journalists, yes.
But I mean, there almost is. I mean, there's a wiring you journalists have. It's this commitment to the truth, and nothing else matters than getting the truth out and being loyal to the facts, and just writing that. The R. Kelly story is a perfect example of that. It's a different mindset, and when I hear things about fake news and journalism, it rankles me because I know intrinsically journalists are the exact opposite of that. It is a different mindset.
Yeah. Well, that's hard, right? This is now
Yes.
You cannot have an alternative fact and say that's very soft. It's like a pillow. No, it's hard. There are some things that are facts. Like climate change is one. Evolution is another. Then there's this world of subjectivity. I've always been a critic. I mean, you've known me as a journalist and a critic. If I'm reporting that Lollapalooza is, shorting the city and county with $7.5 million of entertainment tax that everybody else would have to pay, that's an objective fact. Subjective is my opinion. Lollapalooza is a festering pile of shit. We can argue about that. But we can't argue about the fact that they got away for 7 years without paying taxes and got a start as a non-profit, right? Which is exactly the same thing we see happening now with Lincoln Yards. We are going to subsidize them as taxpayers to build this giant, yuppie, controlled community that is then going to have venues brought to you by Live Nation Ticketmaster that will continue further stomping out this city's vital, vibrant, independent music community. We can argue about whether that's good or bad. What is so bad, Jim, about the big corporate concert venue as opposed to the small hideout, empty bottle, or the many venues we've lost, Lounge Acts or Fireside Bowl or, Township? ponchos. And what was the place that always smelled? Ronnie's, the place that always smelled like cat piss. Which was really frightening because there was no cat.
Right.
But it was, I think what we are fighting for now in America and in the Chicago music scene, in a microcosm of America, is the idea of community, or are we going to live in some sort of corporate global hegemony? It was Michael's favorite phrase, and I think we've always seen it as the same good fight. So yeah, as a journalist and as a critic, I've been fighting my version of that.
Let's talk a little bit about that thriving independent Chicago music community. You've reported on it, you've been in it for the past 20 years as a musician. Where's it at now as opposed to when you first, let's say, got here from New Jersey?
I think we're losing venues, but I think we often don't step back. Having lived in Minneapolis twice, growing up in New Jersey, traveling a lot, I think we take certain things for granted in Chicago. I mean, there are easily a dozen great mom and pop record stores. Mm-hmm. Still, even as the sale of music declines and becomes extinct, we have 6 or 7 really great small independent clubs. They become less independent all the time,
And if I can just add to that, the dangerous part is the lack of all ages shows. The lack of all that's something we've lost entirely.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that.
Again, besides being in a punk rock band, I'm a high school English teacher, and I see that with kids. They're not going to concerts, they're not going to shows. And when I was a kid, that's what you did. And then when you go to the shows, you buy the records, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the kids are just getting more slaves to corporations. So what's big
it's so
out there?
Interesting. I just had this conversation with my teenage, all ages wanting to go to son, and his lament is that there's nothing for him to do.
His options are so limited.
It's true. Unless he's going out to Tinley Park or the United Center for a big super arena show, like he can't have those experiences. I really can't. Those experiences that we had.
Yeah.
The other week I was going to see the Viagra Boys. My son's like, "That's not fair. I want to go." I'm like, "Dude, you got a few more years. I'm sorry." We
have a new mayor. When in your lifetime, James, did you think we would have a female person of color who is gay as mayor of Chicago?
10 years ago, it seemed unthinkable.
Yeah, 10 years. It was unthinkable last year, I think. I think it was unthinkable a couple of weeks ago. I would love to see, instead of Emmanuel for 8 years paid lip service to this mayor's office of music, mm-hmm. I would like to see an actual mayor's music council mm-hmm. with representatives from clubs and fans and musicians to deal with issues like, can we figure out a better way to approach the all ages license? Can we do something? Why on earth the Hideout hasn't been landmarked already mm-hmm. to protect it from that encroaching behemoth of Lincoln Yards? Look, Maxwell Street's gone, and it's never coming back. Right. The birthplace of all modern electric music, is Maxwell Street in Chicago, and it's now UIC parking lots. Mm-hmm. We've lost so much history. Chess Records is empty. It stands empty. Yep. There's nothing to see, even on the occasions when it's open. Memphis, Detroit, New Orleans, Austin, Texas have vital, vibrant mayors and governors' offices of music that see this as an income generator.
Well, and when you land in some of those cities, you'll hear that music in the airport.
Right at the airport.
Chicago's notorious for paying lip service to the blues.
Yeah. It's also the birthplace of gospel, mm-hmm. and the rock contributions, which I do not count the 60s. Chicago was pretty dreadfully dire until people like Ray Gun in the 80s, but we could argue that. This city is important 10 ways over. I think it's still the best American music city, but it's under siege, and every American city is in this time. And look, in the macrocosm, we got bigger problems, but it's all part of the same. Hence, Louie, why did we call the album what we called it?
This machine kills fascists?
Yes.
Because we believe in the power of music, man.
Yeah, where's it come from?
That's Woody Guthrie, of course.
Yeah. It's kind of Wilco of us in a way. A band we have zero to do with, really. All due props to Jeff Tweedy. It's just there's no Wilco in us. we can't play well enough, and we have no roots to be roots rock.
No, these are spirited 90-second punk rock songs. I love Clickbait, a song that begins with the driving beat from Jim DeRogatis.
Louie wrote that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well done. But in an age where all the rules for marketing music and journalism are different, talk to me about the very nature of Clickbait. As you're writing stuff, as you're posting stuff for your podcast on Sound Opinions, what's different about presenting that content to the public?
And Jim, how do you toe the line between writing a headline or a teaser for a show that's true to what it is and making it sensational enough?
Thank you for articulating my question much better than I did.
To lure more people.
Well, Louie was in advertising, so
There you
we
go.
feel guilty about
Thank you,
this.
Louie.
You know, for me, social media is 90% self-promotion.
Mm-hmm.
I have written this. We have this episode of Sound Opinions. You know, here, check it out. I don't think it's a way to communicate. Not for real. Mm-hmm. You know, in terms of an exchange of ideas meaningfully. So I think that's what that song came up about, right? We were decrying TMZ.
That kind of stuff, yeah.
And, you know, TMZ in the last 24 hours has had 3 or 4 Kelly stories. You know, they are his official pipeline. They've decided, you know, there's a lot of people being anti-R. Kelly, so we'll be in his corner, which is just sheer perversity. I mean, that's it's like Trump. You know, if people say immigration is good, he'll say it's bad. Mm-hmm. You know, and he'll say it, you know, with unrestrained vituperativeness and hate in his heart. I don't believe he has any real convictions, pro or con anything. You know, which is sort of the social media world. It's all about generating clicks.
I will say, if someone could kindly provide a definition for vituperative in
Yeah,
the
as I
comments
say,
of the
we were
Facebook
like,
Live,
ooh, look at that.
that
well,
would be really, really helpful.
James, you went to school.
I went to Columbia College.
Well, I teach at Columbia College.
I taught at Columbia too.
I know.
I guess this is the halfway point. Car Con Carne, presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. This is also what's called a reset in radio.
Oh,
My guest in the car, the band Vortis.
Very pro of you, James.
Very
Yes.
pro. I've done some stuff.
I
in the
know,
biz.
I know you have.
I've been around for Christ's sake. All right, you mentioned R. Kelly. Let's talk about that. You've said this is the book you have coming out. This is the book you didn't want to write.
I didn't want to write this book. No.
Sometimes destiny chooses you, I guess.
Early on, when I was, 21 or 22, in my first job as a beat reporter in Jersey City, New Jersey, at the Jersey Journal, I had 2 brilliant female editors, and I've gone back to both of them, and they both disagreed that they said this. So it was either Margaret Schmidt or Pat Donnelly, and I credit both because one of them said it. Sometimes you choose your story, and sometimes your story chooses you. And I have added the sequel to that. Either way, you're not a journalist if you don't follow it through to the end.
Okay.
So, yeah, all right, this story chose me.
And initially you wrote it off. When you just kind of pushed the facts to the side.
I got this fax. The whole thing is in the book. Book's out June 4th. Soulless, the case against R. Kelly. Yeah, I got a fax that I thought, James, in those days, you knew me, circa 2000. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of hate mail. Whenever I reviewed Billy Joel or Eric Clapton and called them unrepentant geezers, I got hate mail. Whenever I
Those
reviewed...
were your best reviews.
Those were, yeah, I stand by that. And they were geezers 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and what are they now? Headlining Wrigley still. Well, Billy Corgan's playing the State Fair. Not really. He's done better than that. Anyway, reviewing Common, reviewing R&B, reviewing, the hip-hop that was about to explode eventually with Kanye West. There were a lot of racist readers, too, who would say that's not music, that's noise. So I thought that this fax that said, you recently wrote a review, it came 2 weeks after the review, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving 2000, that compared R. Kelly to Marvin Gaye. Well, Marvin Gaye had his problems, but they're nothing like Robert's. His problem is young girls. And this goes back many years. And I initially tossed it on the junk pile of hate mail.
Yeah,
thinking,
I get that.
But there were a lot of details in there that haunted me throughout Thanksgiving weekend. And among them was the name of a young woman who had filed a lawsuit that had never been reported. There were other people. And the single thing that stuck out was the name of a sergeant in Chicago in the sex crimes unit. And the letter writer, anonymous, and I still don't know to this day who sent that fax, said the Chicago Police Department's been investigating for 2 years. You can call Sergeant Chizewski of the sex crimes unit. So Monday morning, I went into work once a week to pick
Right.
up the CDs, and show my face to editors, but hopefully not see them, so I could have been seen but left without getting more
Right,
work.
you got your credit for showing up.
There you go. So I called CPD switchboard and asked for Sergeant Chizewski, the way it was spelled in the... Because I thought, look, if you're going to make something up, you're not going to make up a great Polish cop name.
That's it.
Like that. You're just not going to make up that Polish cop name. And
Just getting the consonants right would be hard.
it was completely spelled wrong.
Yeah.
And I almost hung up when the operator told me we don't have anybody with that name. And I said, can you check? Do you have anybody with a similar surname, Polish, in sex crimes? And a woman picked up the phone, said, Chizewski, Special Investigations. I said, I'm calling from the Chicago Sun-Times about the investigation into R. Kelly. And she said, I was wondering how long it would take before somebody called about that. I can't talk to you, and hung up.
Jesus. Now, what year was this?
This was November 2000. There was no tape operator, recording engineer, publicist, radio programmer, writer. It had always been in the air. R. Kelly likes them young. And I don't think anybody had stopped to really think about what that meant. And the whole thing with Aaliyah, he had denied it, she had denied it. Were they married in 1994? Was she 15? Was she 18? What had really happened? So I was already almost a decade late to that story in November 2000. Our first story, me and Abden Palish, took 6 weeks to report. It ran December 21, 2000. And we honestly thought that December 22, 2000, R. Kelly's career would be over. And then we thought the same thing again in February of 2002 when I got a 26-minute, 39-second videotape of him having sex with a 14-year-old, which is the single most horrifying thing.
I can't imagine. Can't imagine.
I had to pop Toy Story 2 out of my daughter's VCR. It was the only VCR we had. She was in preschool, and I was working at home on the Northwest Side. And I got a call. Go to your mailbox. Click. And there was this tape. And you can't unsee something like that. And yet, R. Kelly was never more successful from the time he was indicted in June 2002 until now. I mean, the biggest, most success of his career came after he was accused of making child pornography, came after the Sun-Times revealed 4 civil lawsuits, 3 of them by underage girls, came after the bulk of our reporting. It made him more popular.
And see, that's just nuts that he was charged with child pornography, and that was it.
Yeah, that he got away with it. Well, it's very complicated. That's what takes a whole book to tell.
Fair enough.
I mean, every system in this city failed. The courts failed, the cops failed, the civil attorneys failed, the churches failed. I have connections in the book to Jackson and Farrakhan.
Sure.
The journalism failed because where was the Tribune on this story? Where was the
one stepped
national
up.
media? Nobody stepped up. And it's a systemic failure to care about young black girls.
Is that something I'm assuming it is something you talk about in the book, like
Extensively.
why the Tribune, why New York Times, why they didn't?
Yeah. I mean, I was shooting for the kind of books that inspired me to become a journalist, albeit a music journalist. I teach at Columbia College. One of my courses is journalism as literature, and we start with Truman Capote's In Cold Blood and Joan Didion, some dreamers of the Golden Dream, and we read The Right Stuff, and we go up to Susan Orlean and Mark Bowden, and this notion that journalism, Tom Wolfe says in his epic anthology, The New Journalism, journalism can use the techniques of the short story writer or the novelist, but it will be more powerful because it is real life. I believe in that ideal, and that's what I was trying to do. Long after anybody gives a shit about who that son of a bitch who destroyed so many lives was, I think that this will be a book about systems failing, and in the Me Too moment, how even now, when we are considering, Joe Biden has to come to a reckoning, still, no victim matters if she is a young black girl. We don't believe they are the ultimate victim because no one will listen to them. And I don't know, James, you've known me a long time. I am a fat, white, grumpy rock critic. I do not have special powers to ring doorbells on the south and west sides of this city. Abden Palish and I went and we talked to people who were eager to talk because nobody was listening to them. That was as simple as that. And I think I had this other advantage, James. I could talk about music. I could talk about music. It's like, I'm ringing the bell. I'm not a cop. That's fairly obvious. I'm also not necessarily somebody that many of these people could relate to, except like I knew who Parliament Funkadelic was and Mavis Staples, and I'd interviewed them both. And so we had this common ground. Now, this is what I think Vortis has to do with this damn book, James, is if music can be, as I have believed since age 13, the ultimate tool to save us, Rock and Roll by the Velvet Underground. Jenny said when she was just 5 years old, that New York radio station, couldn't believe her life was saved by rock and roll. All right. The reason I am not a fat, racist Jersey City cop, the fat parts here, is I discovered the music and I discovered the writing about it. It was both. It was the writing that put it in context, and it was the music. I believe that this community, I believe that the world can be better, in part through music, because it changes us. I'm not talking Bono crap or 60s romanticization. The music stopped the war, man. No. The music makes us think, and the music unites us, even when we don't think we have anything in common. What am I talking about? God damn it, if you dropped Mavis Staples down in the middle of those fucking assholes rioting in Charlottesville, and she sang, right? The way she sang, walking arm in arm with Dr. King in the face of fire hoses and bulldogs and batons being swung at her, and she sang, and they changed the world. Didn't change enough, but it started to change.
Yeah.
All right? And I think that's what we need today. If all of that is true, and you can call me a naive asshole for saying it, I think we have to ask ourselves the opposite. Is music, therefore, also the ultimate tool to ruin lives? And I've had 3 or 4 young women who were part of Kelly's circle, some of them that he had sex with underage, who've compared it to Manson, which the first time I heard it, it was jarring. Because I'm hearing it from a 22-year-old black girl, and I'm even thinking like, look, my context for Charles Manson is Sonic Youth. Death Valley 69. You know what I mean? I'm not that old,
Right.
I was 5 when the Manson killings happened, right? So I have to read about them later after hearing, like, indie rockers think they're cool, drop them in the songs.
Right.
There was a sort of power there. And Charlie said 2 things. When he sat with David Dalton, Bill Wyman told me, go back, when I was comparing the power that Kelly had over women to Rasputin, which was a little too highfalutin. Wyman said, go back and read David Dalton and David Felton's piece in Rolling Stone about Manson. They did an entire issue of Rolling Stone before Helter Skelter, Bugliosi's book, before Ed Sanders' book. And they sat with Charlie. And Charlie had 2 tools, he said. Number 1, I recognized the girls he's talking about, with a glitch, something broken. I knew who to choose. And number 2, he said, I had music. The book opens with the facts, and it ends with the very first girl who tried to stop him. He picked her up in her high school choir class at Kenwood Academy in 1991.
That sound you hear is my flesh crawling.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
Her high school choir class, a Chicago public school, and the class was taught by Lena McClin. She's the niece of the Reverend Thomas A. Dorsey, the man who invents modern gospel music. And, she sued in 1996, only after the state's attorney of Illinois refused to press a criminal claim. So she files a civil claim and settles it in 98. And it ends with her. I finally met her in January. She's never spoken to anybody all these years, and she wanted to talk to me. The book ends with her. And James, I said to her, come to this Vortis gig at the Hideout where we're going to celebrate the release of our record and my book. And it's got to have those two things. It's got to have music. I don't give a fuck, man. I'll buy all the records and hand them out for free. I'll buy all the books and hand them out for free. It's not about self-promotion. But I said to her, sing with us. She had toured the world with Aaliyah, her best friend, singing behind Aaliyah. From Cottage Grove Heights, she sees Rome, Paris, Amsterdam, London, tours America. And he has sex with her at 15, and Aaliyah, and 5 of her friends who are 15, and takes away from her the joy of music, singing, takes away from her virginity, takes away from her friendships, and she's all right. Her daughter now is as old as she was when. Yeah. She has a really solid job, and she has made something of her life, and it's like, I'd love to hear her sing. That's,
Yeah.
I would love to give that back to her.
I love that.
Yeah, well, that's me. I'm a sap.
When
she keeps texting me LOL. I keep trying to talk her into it. Come and sing. We won't suck for that occasion, right, boys?
No, we'll learn something.
We'll learn whatever she wants to sing.
When the documentary came out and people seemed to finally just wake up, was your response, where the fuck were you guys?
No. I have never been territorial or fearing a scoop on this story.
I don't mean that, but where was the outrage before? Not even pointed at journalism, but society at large suddenly waking up to this. Were you thinking, come on?
No, I thought it was about time. The only feeling I have is too little, too late. Mm-hmm. I understand, Dream is someone I respect enormously. Dream Hampton was the showrunner. I do not respect Bunham Murray. The production company is the same that brought us The Real World and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And isn't that part of the problem? This blurring of reality and celebrity uber alles, right? But Dream was not connected and I wouldn't work with Bunham Murray. And I think Dream did something valuable. For 19 years, I've sat with women as they've done the hardest thing any woman can do, which is rip out their soul and tell me about their sexual assault. And it's them who have affected this. Appearing on camera and America getting to meet some of those women, it's them who've done it. There was a Washington Post column that I write about near the end of the book not long ago. Margaret Sullivan's a brilliant media columnist. She said, investigative journalism couldn't do it. It took a hashtag, Mute R. Kelly, and a docuseries. And I don't think any of that's true. I think all of that played a role. But it was these women, James, for 20 years, risking financial ruin, risking fearing for their lives to speak out. I was a megaphone. I was amplifying what they were telling me.
And I'm sure that R. Kelly machine is intimidating.
It used to be more. He's broke now. Mm. I think even that wouldn't be doing it now unless he was... he played last night for 28 seconds in Springfield. It was $100 a ticket, a club show, after he got booted off a state fairgrounds show that was supposed to be a real concert. So then he's doing this after show. He shows up and he sings for 28 seconds a couple of lines of Bump and Grind. It was supposed to be $100 to party with, have your picture taken with, get an autograph from R. Kelly. 50 people showed up. He's done. Mute R. Kelly has effectively... I have... You asked the question earlier about free speech, and I have philosophical problems with the idea of stamping out.
Sure.
Mein Kampf should be in print so that we can read it and study what hatred looked like. Should Kelly still be played at backyard barbecues, at weddings, at church on Sunday? That's a more difficult question. But what Mute R. Kelly set out to do was take away his power to commit these crimes by taking away his income.
Right, for sure.
But RCA Records, it still hasn't commented, but they've dropped him from their label. He made 15 major label albums, sold 100 million records, generated for himself $250 million, and a full $1 billion for Jive Records, which was quite possibly neck and neck with Interscope for the sleaziest record company ever. I mean, they're also enabling the sexualization of Britney Spears at age 14, and Lou Pearlman is bringing them Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, while he is later convicted of fraud and sexual abuse of young boys. I mean, nothing mattered to the old school music industry except money. And it is extinct, James.
Oh, it is absolutely.
We have killed it.
So, the book again is called Soulless.
The Case Against R. Kelly, yeah.
And it comes out in June.
June 4th.
Okay. The details are
On
laid
the
out.
web, on the interwebs, yes.
They're on the web. I guess the question I have for you, and there's so much, I mean, this was just a soupçon of what we can find in your book, a mere taste of what...
A soup song, that's very good.
Thank you. An amuse-bouche.
Amuse-bouche, yes.
I guess the question I have for you, as someone who's been in this, talking to the victims, chronicling the story, where do you see him ending up? Does he go to jail?
I think the Chicago case against him is very, very weak. Very weak. It's going to fall apart. But there's a 26-member federal task force that has interviewed everybody I've ever interviewed. They've been fanning out Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Florida, Miami. I think if the federal charges of 30 years of sex trafficking and students of rock history, violations of the Mann Act, for which Chuck Berry was imprisoned, transporting underage girls across state lines for immoral purposes. I mean, it exists, and people are still charged for it. I think the federal case will be real. I think Chicago will fuck it up again. I mean, it took 6 years to go to trial. 2002, he's indicted. 2008, it goes to trial, and he's acquitted.
On like 22 counts, right?
21 counts of making child pornography. A jury of his peers acquits him because the girl in the videotape, her mother and her father, never testified. But 15 witnesses did. And the state had 50 before the grand jury. That's a complicated story. It's in the book. I don't know. He has 9 lives. He could fade into oblivion slowly, playing, strip clubs in Springfield where 50 people turn up, which would be pathetic enough, or he could get off scot-free. And here's a troubling thing. His career resurged when he was acquitted. 2013, he sings at Coachella with Phoenix. He headlines Bonnaroo. He headlines Pitchfork. And Black Panties is, one of his most successful albums. By then, people knew. And people embraced him, not despite knowing. Some people embraced him because they knew.
Yeah.
And that's like being one of those sick motherfuckers who wants to have a piece of John Wayne Gacy jailhouse art in your living room. I mean, or you're collecting Manson family memorabilia.
Exactly right. Your commitment to the story and seeing this to its end, and really the work you've done on behalf of the people victimized by this is exemplary. Thank you for everything you've done.
It's all part of the same thing to me. The playing music, teaching, writing about it is all, you use the tool you have.
I'll tell you something. He's been relentless with it, too, because we'll be at rehearsals. He's talking to people on the phone, talking to victims' families, working on it. We were in a show not too long ago. He had to leave after we got there for load-in, sound check, and we had, you wait between on. He had to go to the south side to try to work on a story to get into that warehouse.
It was Justine Street. The family of one of those girls had flown in from Florida and were being threatened with arrest for trying to see their daughter at the recording studio on Justine Street, which is half a block from Pitchfork where they headlined. There's some vindication in this book. When I was decrying Pitchfork booking him in 2013.
I remember.
I'm old, fat, clueless.
I remember.
Pompous, out of touch, and it's like, what do Mike Reed and Chris Kasky and Ryan Schreiber say today?
Right.
It's like,
all right, so the book is out in June.
June 4th.
We can hear you weekly on the radio.
The Sound of Opinions, yes. The radio
podcast
show
form.
program, yes.
A show I once produced. Someone said,
you did.
Talk about working together on Sound Opinions at Q101. We kind of did.
We did.
Early
What was
on.
it? Were you there the night Blur was there?
Yeah.
Remember they ate about 100 pounds of pistachios.
That is true.
And left them all over the floor.
That's why I remember.
Park Life, Circa Park Life. Nobody wanted them. Nobody liked
wanted
them.
They did a terrible version of, I want to say, Bank Holiday.
I thought it was pretty great. It was Blur.
It was Blur.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning on Q101. That's pretty fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, we had the Flaming Lips in there. We had John Cale. We had
Hitchcock.
Robin Hitchcock,
yeah.
former Carcon Carne guest. I just
Yes,
wanted
yes,
to say
yes,
that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was great. We had Courtney Love live for 2 hours.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, and we blew through the commercials.
Uh-huh.
And the dump button never got more of a workout in the history of radio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was...
That was amazing. All right, so Sound Opinions, we can hear you there. Vortis, the band. We started the show with Vortis. Damn it all, we're going to end with Vortis. The new album is available on vinyl. It's a handsome-looking vinyl.
Cave Tone Records, right?
Mm-hmm.
Louie,
Cave Tone
you should say something, Louie.
Cave Tone Records.
There it is. Well said.
Do you watch television? Yes, on occasion.
Yes.
You've seen the Maytag commercials?
Yes.
With the Maytag man is the refrigerator and they throw leftovers at him. Louie wrote those.
Get out.
Louie wrote those.
He's an advertising titan.
Yeah.
On to segment 3 of the show, where Louie comes out.
Now, you wouldn't know that he was in this game, right? Because he said like 4 words.
Right.
I got nothing to say.
He's like a quiet storm.
There you go.
Gina says, ew, nightmare to be stuck with Courtney Love for 2 hours.
No, that's not true. Courtney Love is one of the smartest women I've ever met. She's also one of the most troubled. Mm-hmm. If you recall, she was simultaneously insulting us, seducing us, joking about something she said 5 minutes ago, steering where the conversation
It was some of the most
should
bonkers
go.
radio. It was what I think that call was the sort of thing I got into radio for.
Yeah.
That all the rules are gone. We have this.
And there's a crystalline truth. Remember what she said about Corrigan? She insulted Corrigan. She said, "You know what they call him, the road crew? The pear-shaped boy," which I just thought is perfect. And then I asked her about Grohl, and she said, all you have to know about Dave Grohl is he and Albini are the guys that went out back when they were making In Utero to set their farts on fire." And I'm like, that has proven to be just about all you do need to know about Dave Grohl. You know what I mean? Because I liked the first Foo Fighters record, and then, not since.
Not even a song here or there?
It was very nice of him to book Naked Raygun and Urge Overkill at Wrigley. But that's an irredeemable career.
Okay, now that we're going down this road, I went to both those Foo Fighters shows at Wrigley Field last year. I respect a band that can change up their set list every night, especially at that level. Pearl Jam does it.
But every Foo Fighters song is the same.
Well, my point is Foo Fighters had the exact same set list both nights, and you've got to assume there will be fans going to both nights. Yeah. I think you owe them a different set list.
But what would it have mattered? It's one song.
Snarkiness aside, one thing I hated about the same show both nights, the same exact patter between songs about Ray Gun.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
About going to Cubby Bear and seeing a band from Chicago, Naked Ray Gun.
My older cousin took me. I know, the whole thing. Yeah.
Same. I mean, it was note for note.
Yeah.
The same. That drives me nuts. Like when I had Hitchcock on last week, I mean, I love and respect the fact that you never know what you're going to get.
No.
And as a fan, that's what you want. You want to be excited. The internet spoils everything. You could look at setlist.fm and know exactly what your favorite band's going to be playing when you see them. I like a little bit of mystery. Of
course. Especially when you're a band with a 10, 12, 15-year career.
Right. Exactly. All right. So, Sound Opinions. You've got a shelf's worth of books that you put out. Kaleidoscope Eyes mentioned earlier.
I wrote the introduction to your book.
You added the book that never came out.
Did it never come out?
It never came out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it was a great intro. It was fantastic.
I have a copy, though.
No, that was a different book, the Q101 book.
Oh, the Q101 book. All right. The other book didn't come out.
Yeah, Tim McElrath of Rise Against wrote the intro to that.
All right. Well, I've written... Yeah, all right.
But you've written tons of stuff.
Yeah, right.
We go way back, I guess, is the point.
Yes.
So we'll get the book. Thank you for staying on that. Thank you for being an exemplary journalist. Vortis, thank you for just rocking the hell out of your 90-second songs and doing what you do. Love you guys, and thank you for eating some of the greasiest tacos.
Yep.
It was good, though, wasn't it?
Oh, that was some great El Pastor. That was
good.
fantastic.
I'm not going to shake hands with you when you leave because I have a protective film.
We won't take it. Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
All right, and if you're watching on Facebook Live, thank you so much for watching. This is Carcon Carne, presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. If you like this show, please tell a friend. Support them. Thank you for watching and listening.